This week makes it 6 full months that Michel and I have been living on our farm here in the mountains of northern Costa Rica. Since that first spade turn of dirt in the garden last year, we've spent our time finding our wings, finding awesome spots to swim down on the river, and finding our happy places. We've met and made friends with all the neighbors and the neighbors' cows. Bright splashes of color are showing up everywhere on the farm. Some of them are things we've planted and some are just surprises. So get comfortable and I'll tell you all about it.
Hey darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now.
It's true that Michel and I have found our paradise, but sometimes even paradise needs a little tender love and care. This farm has not been worked in a long time. The fields have lain dormant, and the fruit trees have gone untended. I said once in one of our videos that this sort of thing just takes time. We're still in the process of trying to recover the land from nature. When we had the field beside the house mowed for the first time, it looked like we had killed all the grass. But even then I said, it won't be long before this greens right back up and we have a beautiful lawn. We started working the land in hopes for a harvest long before we had even invested in some trademark Costa Rican boots. We were so proud of that first little hill of dirt that we piled up in hopes of growing a stand of cassava. The lady we rented from in El Bosque near La Fortuna had just taken her machete and chopped off stalks of the cassava she was growing and handed them to us. She did the same thing with a few stalks of her camote, which is a type of sweet potato. We shared a clip of Michel taking one of the stalks she had given us that hadn't yet grown roots and that we hadn't given any preparation to, and just sticking it in the ground. We put some water on it, held our breath, and waited for it to grow. And then came the leafcutter ants, and oh boy, did they do some damage. They ate everything in sight, but we crossed our fingers and eventually they all made a full recovery. This vine is the same plant that Michel stuck in the ground all those months ago. Camote makes an excellent understory crop for cassava planting, and we've even had our first harvest. Mandarina is the Costa Rican name for tangerine. The blooms were heavy this season and very fragrant. With a little time, the blooms turned into mandarinas. And this year's crop is growing under the ever-watchful eye of Wally the green parrot. This is her favorite treat, and she lets everybody know it. The avocado trees flowered too, and those flowers became avocados. But without question, the crown jewel of our little farm is the river that borders it. This water flows directly from the Miravalles Volcano, a primary water source that is as clean and pure as it gets. Another very cool surprise for us was the discovery of a neighborhood coydog. We believe this fellow is the result of an interbreeding between a male coyote and a female domestic dog. Standing on the riverbank looking down at the water, you would never guess that this lagoon is almost 6 feet deep on one end and a little more than 3 feet deep on the other end. The lagoon itself is about the size of a residential swimming pool. Sometimes it's very hard for me to get my head around the fact that all of this natural beauty is our home, that it's our everyday life and we're not on vacation. The best way I know to illustrate how far we've come in the last 6 months is to showcase some before and after. With the work of our hands, we raised the water level of this lagoon from a few inches to a few feet. Back at the house, we turned a pile of Madera negra sticks into a raised garden bed that is now supporting the growth of beans and celery. I also have some spinach planted here in anticipation of rainy season. This cucumber vine is just killing it here. and our first squash has long ago been cooked up in a big pot of soup. From tomato seedling to tomato plant, these beefsteaks will be ready to harvest before we know it. And as far as those little stragglers of cilantro, they've turned into a spreading mass of self-seeding Mexican coriander. Our spindly little starfruit tree seedling is just bursting with new growth. The little cinnamon tree that I've been rooting hasn't changed much. But in this case, that's a good thing. It still has leaves, and when I repotted it recently, I saw that it also has a nice little root system growing. I still don't have a proper name for this, but I think it's a type of oxalis. I've been dragging this around since we were in Cartago. Other victims of the leafcutter ant fiasco have rebounded as well. I did not lose my 3 little mamonchino seedlings, nor did I lose my 2 camino seedlings. My peacock plant that was drowning in water is now spreading itself all over the shade garden behind the cilantro. And my arrowhead philodendron that was almost completely demolished by the leafcutter ants has come back with such vigor that I've divided it between the original pot, half a coconut shell in the shade garden, and in this hanging basket birdhouse thing we have under the mandarina tree. These pineapple tops have been with us since long ago snacks. I rooted them in water for months, but now they're established in the ground and producing new foliage. The first rental house we lived in near La Fortuna had a huge mango tree in the backyard. I started several little trees from the seed, and 2 of them are now in the ground. Those burgundy-colored leaves are new growth that have happened since I planted it. This mixed bag of tisquisque and malanga and nampi all survived a transplant into the ground, and now I have a really pretty decorative row of elephant ears that we can eat. But now, this monstrosity was already growing here when we bought the farm. I have no idea what it is or even if it's edible. Brazilian spinach is another thing that apparently you can just break off and poke into the ground and it survives. It's now coexisting peacefully with my nasturtiums and several other little things I have planted as ground cover. Like our cassava, the pink palms I rooted in this bucket of water started as branches from the main tree that were just chopped off with a machete and handed to me. These days, the leaves aren't quite as showy, but that's because all of the energy is going into the roots. There are still some wild and untended areas of the farm. We'll get to it eventually. My polka-dotted elephant ears seem to like it here quite well, and so does this flower that I have no name for. For months, I've been calling this one the little thing with purple flowers. Well, it definitely has purple flowers, but last week it surprised me with a white one. My pepper plant has finally gained a little size, and it's finally bloomed. Since I shot this video, that bloom has turned into a pepper. Now, this is a plant I didn't know was here when we first moved in. The flowers are white, big and showy, and bloom in multiples at the top of a long stalk. This is the hydrangea I rescued from a neglected flower bed beside the house. In Latin America, these are called hortensia. Then there is my sleeping bed of edible gold. If you've followed this channel for a while, you know I consume lots and lots of turmeric. The curcumin it contains is highly therapeutic. You can see a leaf forming here on this little root. Note to self, papaya trees are highly susceptible to transplant shock. Looks like I got lucky this time. It's sprouting some new leaves and I think it's going to be okay. I planted several root crops here, like potatoes, onion sets, carrots, spinach, and turnips. This bed is a variation on the theme of hugelkultur. Hugelkultur is the practice of making raised garden beds from compostable material. We've built several different types of hugelkulturs here with different goals in mind. This one is unfinished, so you can see a little bit about how we've built the core. It's designed with rainy season in mind, so we used a lot of materials that will promote drainage. One of the other projects we've been busy with is making a compost pile. Our bus has 2 drainage systems. One of them is exclusively for gray water. We have a whole separate drainage system for that other stuff. So we decided to channel the gray water runoff underneath the compost pile and force it to percolate through 3 separate earthen barriers before it reaches a water source. From this angle, you can see our engineering in action. I washed several loads of laundry this morning, so all of these little holding pits are full. They won't stay full for long though. Within about half an hour, all of this standing water will percolate down through the soil and join the groundwater systems that run underneath our farm. Another project we've been working on is this little pond. Interestingly, while we were digging the plunge pool, we started finding Mesoamerican relics. First, we found this metate, or grindstone. I can just imagine a Stone Age woman kneeling beside the creek, preparing grains and seeds to cook over a fire. Next, we found this axe head. There's no question that it's an axe head, although we don't know if it's for a hand axe or one that was attached to a handle. This is most definitely an axe head made of stone, not of rusted metal. I'm not quite as confident about this final find, but I do see tool marks on it. So my suspicion is that this is some sort of defleshing tool. And in this corner of the yard, our most recent project is a fire pit. We put a lot of thought into this little fire pit, even though it looks very simple. Otherwise, we would end up with a pile of half-burned mess like the one that was left for us by the previous homeowner.
Hey, darling, I love it when it's me and you on the road with a couple of tunes in a car for two. Hey, darling, you know we're gonna have a really good time driving in the middle of the night when the stars are bright.
Michel and I have learned a lot during the last 6 months. We learned that the bromeliads and mosses growing on the mandarina trees are actually harmful to the tree, can inhibit the production of fruit, and even kill the tree. We also learned that banana trees need to be cut down after they fruit. Another neighbor, Tony, has taken time to show Michel how to operate these big Costa Rican string trimmers like a pro. We have the type of grass growing here that, over time, can be trained to form a dense carpet of green. Not too long ago, Tony also killed the snake that killed our cat. There is definitely a learning curve to owning and operating a farm in Costa Rica, but Michel and I feel so blessed to have this opportunity.
Get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Yeah, we only get one life. I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand.
I have been involved in animal rescue for many years. It would be out of character for me to come to a place like Costa Rica and do nothing. Michel and I have partnered with a registered nonprofit here in Costa Rica, a foster-based dog rescue that's doing some great work in the country. The only real drawback we face is that we don't have a perimeter fence to keep the dogs out of the road and out of trouble. So this rescue, which is called Charlie's Angels Costa Rica, helped us organize a fundraiser to solve the problem. We only need to raise about $1,500 US. It's not a lot of money, but for that money, the dogs will get a huge benefit. What follows is the very short video from our GoFundMe. You'll find more information in it and on the GoFundMe page itself. I'll be sure to post a link in the description. Thank you in advance to anyone who wants to help with this project.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Kay, and this is Michel. Hello. We own a farm in the mountains of northern Costa Rica, and one of the things that we're doing with our land, we have opened our home as a foster resource for Charlie's Angels Dog Rescue right here in Costa Rica. Now, I did this for several years in the U.S. I actually ran a nonprofit, a 501c3 dog rescue, and I know by comparison that this is going very, very well here. Except there's one problem. We need a fence.
dogs have a great time here. There's no doubt they're living their best lives on our farm. But it's a real challenge to keep them safe without some kind of barrier, because in addition to all the fun, there's also this. Cars fly past here, and not just cars, there are all sorts of ways these dogs can get themselves in trouble out on the road. The space we have for these dogs is about an acre, or half a hectare. Now that's a rough estimate, but it's plenty of room for them to run and play. The dogs will not be kept outside full time. They'll be house dogs forever as long as they live with us. But just being able to open the door and let them go out to potty doesn't need to put them at risk. And right now it does, as you've seen in the video. We're so fortunate to be able to work with a rescue here in Costa Rica called Charlie's Angels Rescue. This rescue is a nonprofit in Costa Rica and a 501c3 in the U.S. That means that all donations can be claimed against taxes. Michelle and I won't be handling any of the money. All of it will go directly to the rescue, and they will provide the supplies to build the fence. It would be a wonderful gift for all of these dogs who've already been through so much. Having this fence will allow us to be a resource for Charlie's Angels Rescue as the needs arise. All dogs need a place to run, and we have that place. We just need your help keeping them safe. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more of our journey here in Costa Rica, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll know when we upload new content. By all means, talk to us in the comments. We love hearing from you.